Hello everyone, I just want to start out prefacing this video saying I've reached out to Destiny several times through email, on his website chat, tweeted at him on Twitter. To my knowledge, I had a larger content creator that I'm friends with that is also friends with Destiny reach out, but I've made no progress, so I figured instead I might as well make a video on this topic addressing it. So to start off, I just want to say that I don't think Destiny is transphobic. So without further ado, I will just dive into my reasoning now for why I think that the argument for why trans women should not compete in women's sports is wrong. So first and foremost, trans women do typically have a slight competitive advantage over cis women for the first 2 years of starting HRT. So this debate isn't a question of trans women in general, but rather trans women within their first 2 years of starting hormone replacement therapy. So if you base your argument for why trans women shouldn't be able to compete against cis women on the fact that they have a competitive advantage, you would have to concede that after 2 years of HRT, trans women should be able to compete with cis women. Now that that's out of the way, next, I would like to ask anyone who holds the view that trans women shouldn't compete within women's sports since they have a biological advantage, if they would ban cis women who have more testosterone or are significantly taller or have denser bones or more muscle mass compared to the average cis women, if they would ban those women as well. If your answer to that question is yes, then I would say that it is odd of you to hone in on trans women and say that we should ban them. And additionally, I would like to add in that what you're arguing for seems counterintuitive to the whole premise of competitive sports. But if you answer no to that question, that we shouldn't ban those women, then I would say to you that you're drawing an arbitrary line at trans women for no coherent reason. You may respond to that question though by saying that you can't compare the biological advantage you get from going through male puberty to certain biological advantages that some women hold, even though I would say that's entirely false. But even if so, take the question as a hypothetical. What if hypothetically there could be as large of a biological advantage between cis women as you're posing there is for trans women? And for whatever answer you give to that, I already gave my arguments against those prior. Either if you say yes, again, I think it's odd of you to hone in on trans women and you're kind of missing the point of competitive sports. And if you say no, then again, you're just drawing an arbitrary line at trans women for no good reason. So even if none of the arguments that have been made so far have convinced you, my question at this point would be to you, why is so little amount of people, right, since there's not even very many trans people, let alone trans people that compete in sports, and then additionally talking about trans women, a subset of a subset of a subset, why is so little amount of people having such a small competitive advantage such a big deal? It's not like trans athletes are dominating women's sports. People have to refer to all these edge cases about trans women winning any competitive event. If you say that this may become a more dominant trend that displaces cis women from sports, that's just not true. Do you really think that people are willing to undergo the social stigma to transition just to be good in women's sports? No. Or even the people who are already going to transition anyways, they're deterred from competing in sports because of the stigma. And I hate to say it, but this conversation contributes to that stigma. We're talking about whether or not trans women should even be able to compete in sports. This is creating a hostile environment. But I'd like to leave this video off with a final question to all those people that hold this position that trans women shouldn't compete in sports. What is your alternative solution to this quote-unquote problem that you're posing? Should trans women just not compete in sports? Which I would say, if you think that's the case, you're contributing to a hostile stigmatization of already being trans, which is already, stressful and bad enough, I would like to say, for lack of a better phrasing. Or should they just compete in men's divisions where they are certainly going to face a larger disadvantage there than any cis woman would face versus a trans woman on HRT? So if you're talking about biological advantages or competitive advantages in sports, why do you not take that competitive advantage or those biological advantages into consideration? I think that's just weird to focus on cis people being affected by this quote-unquote issue and not the way that it could affect trans people as well. But that's just my takes on it. These are all my arguments. If you have any questions or you have any points that you'd like to make, or maybe you have a disagreement with me, leave it all in the comments below. Peace.